Hi, vintage bakers. Today I'm in the kitchen making profiteroles.
A crisp and buttery choux pastry shell with a rich, creamy inside. Fill with a buttery pastry cream or turn into cream puffs with a rich whipped cream center. Topped with a glossy layer of smooth chocolate, these homemade profiteroles are the perfect treat for any occasion.
This classic bite-sized dessert made up of choux pastry might sound like something you shouldn't even try to make from scratch in your own kitchen. But this recipe is actually super simple and pretty fun to make with only a handful of kitchen staples.
So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make homemade profiteroles.
I'm going to start this recipe by making the choux pastry or pâte à choux, which is the dough for the profiteroles. In a medium saucepan over medium-high heat, add 3/4 of a cup of milk, 3/4 of a cup of water, 2/3 of a cup of butter, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a half a teaspoon of salt. While stirring occasionally, bring the mixture to a simmer. Then reduce the heat to medium-low and add in 1 and 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to keep stirring this until the flour is incorporated and makes a smooth, soft dough ball that cleans the sides of the pot. Now that my dough is formed, I'm going to remove it from the heat. Next, I'm going to add in the eggs. But first, I need to cool down the dough slightly so the eggs don't scramble when I add them to the hot dough. To do this quickly and easily, I'm going to add the dough to a bowl and beat it for a few minutes either with a stand mixer or in a large bowl with beaters. And now with the mixer still going, I'm going to add in 5 eggs, one at a time, and beat well after each addition. I like to crack my eggs into a separate bowl first, just in case anything is wrong with an egg or if I drop some of the shell, it's easier to fish it out. After all the eggs are in, I'm left with a thick batter. To form my profiteroles, I'm going to transfer this mixture to a very large piping bag with a circular tip. If you don't have one, you can use a large freezer bag and cut a small hole in the corner. Now onto a lined baking sheet, I'm going to pipe out about a tablespoon's worth of dough. I'm going to fill the whole baking sheet with these little Hershey's Kiss style blobs. Make sure to leave about 1.5 inches between each. Now to make sure my profiteroles are smooth on the top, instead of these little pointed shapes, I'm going to dip my finger in a little bit of water and smooth down the tops. Now that all the dough is shaped, it's ready to go into my preheated 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius oven for 10 minutes. This high temperature will give them a big burst of heat, which will help them puff up. Then reduce the temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius and continue to bake for another 15 minutes or until the profiteroles are golden brown and feel very light and airy. If the profiteroles are not baked long enough, they'll collapse as they cool. Remove these little bite-sized pastries and allow them to cool completely before filling. Profiteroles or cream puffs are typically filled with pastry cream or whipped cream. However, since profiteroles are light as air pastries and have a lot of hollow space inside, you could really fill them with anything you'd like: chocolate mousse, flavored creams, or lemon curd. For my recipe today, I'm going to fill mine with pastry cream. To make my homemade pastry cream, to a large saucepan over medium heat, add in 4 cups of milk. Scrape the seeds from 1 vanilla bean and add it to the milk. If you don't have a vanilla bean, you can use vanilla bean paste or 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Heat the milk until it starts to steam, but don't allow it to simmer and form bubbles. Remove it from the heat and set it aside to steep with that delicious vanilla flavor. While I'm waiting, in a large bowl, combine 3/4 of a cup of sugar, a half a cup of cornstarch, and 12 egg yolks. Yes, this recipe calls for an incredible amount of eggs. If you've made this recipe and you're looking for a way to use some egg whites, click on this link for some gorgeous French meringue cookies. Whisk this together until it's light and creamy. I'm also going to cut a half a cup of cold butter into little cubes. This is going to get added in at the end. It's important to have cold butter because it's going to stop the cooking process of the cream as soon as it's added in. Now the milk should be cooled enough and we can add it to the bowl with the rest of the ingredients. Gently and gradually pour a little bit of the hot milk into the egg and sugar mixture while constantly mixing. This is going to temper the eggs, which just means to slowly increase the temperature of the eggs to make sure they don't cook and turn into scrambled eggs, which is definitely not the texture we're going for this rich, smooth pastry cream. Once I have about half of the hot milk mixed into the egg mixture, I'm going to pour everything together into the sauce pot and return it to medium heat. Stir until it's glossy and thickened. It will start to thicken quite quickly. As soon as you see a few bubbles from it beginning to simmer, remove it from the heat and add in the cold butter. Whisk this until all of the butter is incorporated and then set aside to cool. I'm going to place a piece of plastic wrap right on top of the pastry cream. This will stop it from forming a skin as it cools. To easily fill my profiteroles, I'm going to place the pastry cream into a pastry bag. I'm just going to cut a small hole in the corner. If you don't have any pastry bags, you could also put this into a sandwich bag and snip a hole in the corner. And now we can get to filling all of the profiteroles. You should be able to see a weak spot somewhere in the pastry. Pierce the tip of the pastry bag inside of the profiteroles. Pipe in the filling until the pastry feels noticeably heavier in your hand. This will mean that it is now full of cream. If you've overfilled the pastry, you'll start to see the cream come back out of the hole. You'll get the feeling for how much you need to add after filling a few of the pastries. As you can see here, I'm filling some of my pastries with whipped cream. Once all of the pastries are filled, you can serve these little bite-sized treats just as they are. Or you might choose to decorate all or some of them. Really, the sky's the limit when it comes to decorations. Melted chocolate, a little dusting of icing sugar, or caramel are all classic choices. Today, I'm going to be using some melted chocolate with a little bit of sprinkle decorations. To do this, you can either use a double boiler in short bursts in the microwave or use a tiny crock pot. Then I'm going to dip the top of each little puff and set it aside to dry. If you're adding sprinkles or decoration, place these now before the chocolate sets. These are the perfect bite-sized treat to bring to any event, especially when finger foods and appetizers are the star of the show. Enjoy! If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks for stopping by.